December 23rd, 2012, Jaime and Sandra Melgar were celebrating their 32nd wedding anniversary. They had dinner at Los Cucos, a Mexican restaurant. On their way home, they made a stop by CVS for some drink mixers. Once they arrived home, they made some cocktails to go with their strawberries, lit some scented candles, and got into the jacuzzi tub in their bathroom to enjoy some late-night romance. This is where an intimate moment turned deadly.
Ooh, I'm excited to hear this story for sure. Hey guys, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tiffany.
And we're Sisters of the South. Hey, we're coming to you tonight with another true crime story. This is going to be a little bit different. It has already gone to trial, and someone is sitting behind bars now because of a murder. And we just want to get your take on it because it's a little mysterious. And there's a lot of caveats in this story. So hang in with us, and we're going to get started on that in a moment. But we are going to first give a big shout out to our merchandise vendor, SoFly. SoFly. They're a small company here in Houston, family owned, and they specialize in embroidery. And they've just started doing some laser work as well. And they do caps. They do aprons, they do t-shirts, keychains, they do all kinds of beautiful work. They'll do beanies for you, hoodies. And so if you need something specialized and personalized for someone that you love, or even for yourself or for a special occasion, reach out to them. They have great customer service and they'll work with you on the details. So check them out. But we're also going to link a video for you to check out.
We're not linking that video. We're going to show it to you right now.
We're going to show it to you now. Here we go.
This is how legends.
I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's get started with the story.
Here we go.
Okay, so Jaime Melgar was born in Guatemala and immigrated to the United States at the age of 3 and settled in Houston, Texas with his family. In high school, Jaime met Sandra. Sandra was the new girl in school, transferring from Laredo, Texas. She was assigned to the seat in front of Jaime, where he would constantly pick on her and pull her hair. One day, Jaime invited Sandra to go ice skating with a group of friends. Not long after Sandra arrived at the ice skating rink, the friend that came with Jaime left, and Sandra quickly figured out that she was on a date with Jaime. After that, Jaime and Sandra were inseparable. The two got married, and Sandra gave birth to their only daughter, Liz. Jaime started his career as an IT specialist and invested in real estate, while Sandra became a nurse. At a young age, Sandra was diagnosed with lupus and epilepsy, which involved taking chemotherapy treatments. Lupus is a disease that occurs when your body's immune system attacks your own tissues and organs, which is an autoimmune disorder. Inflammation caused by lupus can affect many different body systems, including your joints, skin, kidneys, blood cells, brain, heart, and lungs. Epilepsy is more common in people with lupus, occurring in 9 to 58% of patients. Epilepsy happens as a result of abnormal electrical brain activity, also known as a seizure, kind of like an electrical storm inside your brain. So before we move on with the story, we're going to show you a quick video of our merchandise.
Yes, we're excited to bring this to you.
And here it goes. I hope you enjoyed the video. As of right now, we just have a few caps, and we're hoping to grow.
Yeah, we'll add to our merchandise later down the road. We wanted to start with something simple. The cap is something that I wear because I have a lot of bad hair days. We have a lot of rain and humidity here.
It has been raining nonstop, and I've had a different hat on every day to match my personality.
Right. And so, yeah, they're comfortable. And they're cute, and we've even got the men in our lives wearing the caps. So get your man one, you wear one, and we would love to be out in public and see some of our merchandise out there. That'd be so exciting.
Yeah, and if you get one, please send us a picture. We'd love to see you in it.
That would be awesome. We appreciate all of you. Thank you.
So this brings us to the night of December 22nd, 2012. Jaime and Sandra's 32nd wedding anniversary had been 10 days earlier, but Sandra had not been feeling well. This night, Sandra had been feeling much better, so the couple decided to go out to dinner to celebrate. They had dinner at Los Cucos, a Mexican restaurant. On their way home, they made a stop by CVS for some drink mixers. Once they arrived home, the couple made some cocktails, lit some candles, and got into their jacuzzi tub in the bathroom where they stayed for hours. Jaime and Sandra had plans to host a holiday dinner for his brother and his brother's family. Jaime's brother and his family got to the Melgar's house around 4 p.m. on December 23rd. They knocked on the door, but there was no answer. Herman, Jaime's brother, checked around the back of the house, but there was no sign of Jaime and Sandra. They thought maybe they had left the house to go get something, but both the cars were still in the driveway. Herman decided to go into the house. He went into the open right side garage door and then let himself in through the door going into the house, which was unlocked. He came around to the front door to let his family in. Not seeing Jaime or Sandra anywhere, they were about to leave when they heard a mumbling sound that sounded like Sandra. They followed the sound into the master bedroom. The sound was coming from a walk-in closet inside the couple's bathroom that was wedged closed with a dining room chair. Herman moved the chair aside and opened the door to find Sandy on the floor. She was tied by her arms and ankles. They also say she had feces and vomit around her. When they cut Sandra loose, she kept asking where Jaime was. Jaime was found naked and covered in blood on the floor about 20 feet away from the bathroom, next to Jaime and Sandra's bed, in the bedroom closet. Sandra had her closet attached to the bathroom, and then Jaime's closet was attached to the bedroom. So they had separate closets.
His and her closet.
His and hers closets.
Yeah, makes sense.
A red rope encircled his chest and a foam cord looped around his ankles. With Sandra free from her ties, she ran to Jaime and checked for a pulse but found nothing. Police and EMS arrived at the scene. They checked Jaime. He was dead. They checked Sandra, who was sitting on a chair in the bathroom, clearly distraught and claiming her head hurt. Paramedics claimed Sandra had no injuries, although she seemed disoriented, not knowing what time of day it was, and stating she could not remember what had happened the night before. Sandra said after a seizure, it is not uncommon for her to sleep for several hours. Harris County Sheriff's Investigator Crime Unit got to work inside the Melgar's home collecting evidence. They collected the weapon, which was a knife from the Melgar's kitchen, which was in the jacuzzi water, and they collected the bloody chair from the bathroom. They noticed valuables were untouched and in plain view. Only dresser drawers were only slightly opened with their contents disturbed.
Okay. So just cracked open a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
Just a small.
Nothing pulled out. Just open.
I mean, I don't even do that when I'm trying to find something to wear. I pull the whole thing out. There's stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
This just kind of looked like they were glancing in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Grazing. Okay.
Sandra declined going to the hospital to be checked for injuries and instead went to the sheriff's office to speak with investigators. Sandra recalled the couple's anniversary celebration of dinner and their time in the jacuzzi. She recalls upon arriving home, they parked their car in the garage on the left side and that the right side must have been closed or she would have noticed it. Now, if you remember, her brother-in-law went through the right side and it was open.
Yeah, so she's claiming, no, that side
it was closed she would have noticed it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
She claims they were in the jacuzzi for a couple of hours before being interrupted by their 4 dogs barking outside. Jaime got out of the jacuzzi to move the dogs to the office because he didn't want the neighbors to complain. Jaime was taking a while, so Sandra got out of the jacuzzi and was going to get dressed in her closet. That is all Sandra claims to remember until she woke up 14 hours later. Sandra remembers there was a car that followed her and Jaime into their neighborhood from CVS the night before. Following her story to investigators, Sandra was released and went to stay with a friend. So the night before, they had left CVS and a car had followed them. It was enough for them to notice and say something about.
Yes. Now, she noticed it. Did they ever say that her and Jamie talked about this?
Yes, they talked about it in the car on the way home. They followed them into the subdivision and then turned onto a different street. They didn't follow them all the way to their house, but she did mention it.
Now, is there any proof of this, or is it that dead men don't lie, so she can just throw that in
That
there?
is just a random story she told while
Just-
she was talking to investigators.
Because at this point, from what I'm hearing, and I'm just jumping ahead, but she could be possibly setting the stage with
It's possible.
the garage door not being open. Oh my goodness, someone followed us home, and then the dogs started barking, and Jamie had to get out and check what were they barking at. Maybe it was an intruder or someone trying to get in the house. So it could possibly be she's setting the stage to sound like someone did break in.
It is
at this
possible.
point, yeah. Or it really could have been an intruder. So we'll see.
That's
Maybe we'll
true.
find out.
So
Maybe we'll find
Liz, Jamie and Sandra's daughter, flew back into Houston to be with her mother. She didn't know the story as to what exactly had happened, only that her father had died in a robbery gone wrong. She claims her mother was in complete shock, had retrograde amnesia, and kept complaining of a headache. Liz states her mother had bruises on her arms and a bump on her head.
Now, can you explain the retrograde amnesia?
I sure can. It is the inability to access memories or information from before an injury or disease occurred.
Okay. So it's trauma induced amnesia
Or
so to speak,
convenience.
or convenience. Okay, yeah.
Depends on which way you want to go with it.
Yeah, I'd never heard that before, so now I know. Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Investigators spoke with Liz and asked that they return to the house and make a list of items that may be missing from the home. Liz went through the house, room by room, making a list of everything she thought may be missing. TV, jewelry, cash, and medication. When checking the garage, Liz noticed something odd. Her middle school backpack with an Xbox console sticking out of it. Liz called investigators who returned to the house to take more pictures and collected the backpack as potential evidence. They later found some of Sandra's jewelry beneath the Xbox in the backpack.
Okay.
So there are a couple of things that I think of with this. Number one, most people don't go in to rob a home without a weapon or a bag to take things.
Absolutely.
I mean,
They're going to go somewhat prepared.
story is somebody came into the house, took a knife from the kitchen.
To stab Jamie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then rummaged around to find Liz's middle school backpack.
And let's check for some panties and underwear in the drawer. Maybe
Where
some
did you even
pantyhose while
find
we're
this
there.
backpack?
Yeah.
Maybe it was out
In the open.
with other stuff.
Yeah. And it's just so random.
But I also have to say this. Why didn't investigators find that backpack when they went through that house?
Right. And why would
She's
they leave
claiming
that
that
behind?
that door is closed.
Yes.
And it's open now. So why didn't they check out the garage and find, oh, wait, an Xbox console with jewelry underneath?
Yes. Yeah, that's really odd. You would think, because typically in a murder scene, they take photos of every single room. They go through and they take photos of where things are placed. And I would think for sure the garage, since there was no area of point of entry at this point, you would think that they definitely would have taken pictures of the garage, inside the garage. I know the vehicles were still there, correct?
Yes, his vehicle, Jamie's vehicle, was outside. In the driveway. Sandra's vehicle was inside the garage on the left side. And that's the thing, is she's telling them that it was the garage door was closed. Her brother-in-law Herman saying it was open and the door was unlocked going into the house.
Well, now let's
the
be
garage.
honest. A lot of people do keep that door inside the garage unlocked.
I do.
Yeah,
Because it's
a lot of
hard.
people
You
do.
can't get through the garage.
Right.
At night, it is not unlocked. There is
Right.
no way I'm leaving that unlocked at night.
Mm-hmm.
I want them working as hard as possible to get into my house.
Right. Absolutely. But not everybody does that.
No, most people don't
Yeah.
even lock their vehicles or
Yeah.
think about locking their.
So that's a little iffy. So again,
Plus, I have to wonder, they stopped, it was late at night, they stopped for Mexican food
Mhm.
and then stopped for some drinks to make it home. I have to wonder how many margaritas they had at the Mexican restaurant. Because, as you know, sometimes you forget and don't look that the garage door
Yeah.
is open
Well,
or
you're coming
closed.
home for an exciting anniversary night.
And those margaritas tasted really good.
Oh yeah, and I've been there, and their margaritas are good. So, and they
I
like to
love
put
me
a
some
little
Los
extra
Cucos.
tequila in there. So, yeah, they were probably feeling pretty good. So, maybe if they typically lock that door, maybe they didn't at night. Also, she might have been feeling a little good and didn't notice the door being open when it was open. So
Right, because they drove into the garage. So maybe she
Yeah.
was talking and not paying attention.
Yes, and that can
It's
happen.
possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very possible.
So Liz also gave investigators the name of a possible suspect, her ex-husband. So Liz's ex-husband.
The daughter.
Yes.
Mhm.
During the last days of his and Liz's marriage, the Melgar suspected he may have taken some of Sandra's medication, the same medication that was currently missing from the home. Liz also mentioned a rental tenant of Jamie's who he had recently had a dispute with. So there are names
Yes.
coming up.
Mm-hmm.
The neighbors also started calling investigators with suspect tips, including a neighbor that had just gotten out of jail and was possibly snooping around the area that night.
Okay. Interesting.
Maybe he knows if the door was, or the garage door was open.
Wonder if they. I'm sure he took inventory.
I notice when my neighbor's garage door is open because he's always in his house.
Right.
Like, I don't know what he looks like. He's always in his house. So if it's open, I'm like, wait, what?
What's going on? Yeah. Well, I'm hoping, and I'm pretty sure that they questioned all of these people. My biggest question is with the son-in-law or ex-son-in-law is why would you kill somebody over stealing some pills? An Xbox? That seems a little dramatic. Did they go into any depth of was he a drug addict or was he bipolar or schizophrenic? Was he abusive? Had he threatened him before? Did he get along with him? Did they go into
I don't
any
think
of
that
those
they got
details?
along. From the way
Okay.
it sounded, they did not get along.
Okay.
It was not a good
A
marriage.
tumultuous relationship all the way around. Okay.
So while tips kept coming in, investigators were keeping everything close to the vest. They already had a suspect in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Colleen Barnett, a prosecutor for the Harris County District's Attorney's Office, states the house didn't look burglarized. There was no sign of a break-in. It looked like a targeted killing.
Mm-hmm.
In July of 2014, Liz, Sandra and Jamie's daughter, went to the mailbox to find it filled with flyers from lawyers to get business for their pending case. Liz got onto the Harris County website and entered Sandra's name and found that Sandra had been charged with Jamie's murder. A few days earlier,
Wow.
a grand jury had quietly voted to indict Sandra.
Interesting. So she just finds out one day checking the mail. Oh my goodness, they're prosecuting me for my husband's murder.
Oh my.
Wow. So she had no idea at this point. She was clueless.
They claimed that the investigators didn't give them any information. What a way to find out, right?
So I'm assuming they only, air quotes, interrogated her one time, or had they called her in various other times?
I saw one.
Okay. And so maybe in her defense,
They questioned her once.
Okay.
Sandra then turned herself in, posted bond, and hired lawyer George Mack Seacrest to represent her.
Once she found out that she was being prosecuted. So I'll give her kudos to this. If she was guilty, she'd probably run the other way and hide behind her attorney. But I'll give her some brownie points. She went and turned herself in. And most guilty people won't do that without a fight. They're going to get an attorney and hide behind the attorney, post bail before they even get put in jail. So, okay. That, to me, that's a 1 point for good for her, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, because if she's guilty, like I said, most people are going to hide behind an attorney and try to stay out of jail.
Seacrest defended Sandra in court for 3 weeks in August of 2017, highlighting the corruption and poor investigation conducted by the Harris County Sheriff's Office. Seacrest also brought to the court's attention Sandra's series of health issues, including rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, bone grafts in her hips, and bilateral hip replacements, 34 years of documented epilepsy and memory issues. He also explained that Sandra was an easy target for the detectives due to their quick and careless investigation. Seacrest also pointed out that there is no physical or DNA evidence linking Sandra to the crime.
No DNA.
No DNA evidence. There was blood only where Jamie was found.
Okay.
And
which is at the end of the bed in the bedroom.
Yeah, kind of it towards the closet. Okay. But he did have a gun. He had a gun that they had argued about where they were going to keep it. He ended up putting it in the closet, at the top of the closet.
Okay.
And so they're thinking he was running in to get his gun.
Okay. That makes sense.
And got attacked.
That makes sense. So he was basically, maybe when he went to put the dogs in, he realized maybe they were barking at an intruder.
Right.
He ran in the house to get the gun. The intruder followed him. But Sandra does not remember any chaos at this point going on. She doesn't remember.
She remembers nothing after getting out of the jacuzzi.
That's where that amnesia comes in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the medical examiner testified that Jamie had suffered more than 50 bodily injuries. 31 of those injuries were caused by sharp forces, i.e. stabs and incisions. The rest were caused by blunt forces. Most of the injuries were concentrated on Jamie's head, neck, torso, and upper extremities. Cuts on his hands were consistent with defensive wounds, which suggested to the medical examiner that when he was attacked, Jamie had been alive and moving, not restrained.
So he was stabbed in the skull.
Yeah, all over.
Okay, and so the only wounds that Sandra had, you said, was some bruises on her arms, but no significant cuts on her hands or anything like that. Which, if you think about it, I mean, number one, stabbing is such a personal thing. But if you're stabbing and you have blood, then there's going to be slippage. And that's where a lot of cuts come in to the perpetrator that's causing the trauma.
And I would think more than just a couple of bruises on the arms, right?
There would be
you're
cuts,
fighting.
Not bruises.
There's going to be cuts. There's going to be, they're fighting.
Yeah, you're going to have bruises, but you're definitely going to have cuts because you think about stabbing someone in the skull, the force, and there's definitely going to be slippage on that. I mean, there would be cuts on her hands for sure. Even if you're wearing gloves, there's going to be cuts or rub marks, something.
There was also no blood on her, and they could not find any blood anywhere but around Jamie. If somebody had come into the house and ran away to exit the house, they would have had blood on them and gotten it somewhere else. I mean, on the carpet, tiles, somewhere else in the house.
That's very mysterious. Now, did they by chance maybe take fingernail clippings from her or check the drains for blood to see if maybe she...
They did. There was nothing.
Okay.
They did not find any DNA under his fingernails.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So he had defensive wounds.
Yeah, but not under the,
But he wasn't, it doesn't sound like he was scratching somebody or anything in that way. It was defending the actual knife.
Yes.
Okay.
The medical examiner did not find any ligature marks or hemorrhages around Jamie's ankles where the telephone cord had been tied. The medical examiner explained that some sort of markings would be expected from the telephone cord if Jamie had still been alive and moving, especially considering that he was naked and the cords were directly in contact with the skin. But because there were no such injuries, the medical examiner believes that the telephone cord had been tied around Jamie's ankles after Jamie was already dead.
And the interesting part about that is that once your heart stops beating and your blood stops circulating, you can no longer retain bruising. They would, if he was alive when they tied him up, there would definitely be bruising around his hands, arms, and his feet. So they know for sure, without a doubt, that this happened after he died.
Yes, and other evidence reinforced that opinion. Photographs showed that Jamie's ankles had been crossed, which is an unnatural position for a living person resisting an attack.
Right.
I mean, that's my relaxing
position. For sure. Yeah.
Not fighting position.
No.
Also, a plastic dry cleaning bag was caught between Jamie's ankles and the telephone cord, and photographs showed additional plastic bags on the floor of the closet. So they were in a hurry when they tied.
Yes.
And caught some of the bag
up there. Mm-hmm.
But why are you tying him up after the fact?
Well, that's setting the stage.
And I understand.
Yeah. Setting the stage to throw investigators off the lead is what that is.
Clearly wasn't put a lot of thought into.
Well, or clearly was. Yeah, I mean, either way, they were thinking, but they weren't very smart about it. Maybe they didn't do their research. And let's be honest here. Sandra's a nurse. She understands postmortem and premortem bodily functions, right? So would it make sense, or maybe she was so out of her mind, maybe some, argument ensued if this happened, and she was so out of her mind that it just happened. And then she was just in a crazed reaction, goes in and starts setting the stage, not thinking of her, of her training of how the body would be post-mortem like that.
But if you're going to set the stage, don't you think ahead of time what you're going to do?
Yes, if it's a thought in your mind. So you're saying premeditated.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I would. I plan everything. I plan stuff a year in advance. So yeah, I would definitely, I would have a plan.
Okay, well, you'll see. The prosecution proposed that Jamie must have been dead on the floor when his ankles were tied, and that Sandra, in a haste effort to stage the scene, must have inadvertently wrapped the telephone cords around the dry cleaning bag, like we said.
Yes.
The prosecution also proposed that Sandra open the garage door after killing Jamie so that she could have been rescued the following day by the visitors she was expecting for holiday dinner. Mm-hmm. They also proposed that Sandra restrained herself in the bathroom closet so as to appear that she could not have been the killer, which they demonstrated in court. The recreation of the wedge chair required the use of a pillow sham. In the recreation video, an investigator began by entering the closet and then placing the pillow sham on the bathroom floor, with one end of the pillow sham inside the closet and the other end outside the back two legs of the chair. The investigator then closed the door so that only a crack remained open. The investigator extended his hand through the crack and leaned the back of the chair under the outside door handle so that the chair was tilted at an angle and its front two legs were lifted off the ground. The investigator then brought his hand back inside the closet and pulled to the end of the pillow sham that was still at his feet. This pulling motion dragged the chair closer to the frame of the closet, and when the door shut completely, the chair became wedged securely under the handle as though it had been placed there deliberately by someone on the outside. Mm-hmm. This recreation was inspired by an actual pillow sham that had been collected from the master bedroom.
Interesting. On the floor, though? Was the pillow sham on the floor, obviously, or in the closet?
There was a lot of stuff.
Was there stuff all over the place?
Everywhere. So
maybe there was an intruder that was just throwing stuff all over, but nobody would know.
Or maybe he got confused and said, forget it. I'm already in a lot of trouble
There's
here.
just stuff everywhere. Where do I start?
But if you're going to put so much thought into this pillow sham, pulling it and fixing it so it jams against the door,
yes,
tie yourself up, wouldn't you think about the telephone cord and the red rope?
absolutely.
Where's this stuff coming from?
Especially if you are a nurse and that is your training, is the biology of a body. Postmortem, again, that blows my mind, because I would understand her getting that part right and not figuring out the pillow sham, because I'm pretty mechanically inclined. Honest to God, I would not have thought of that. But I don't think of those things either. I don't think of a way to lodge myself in a closet for 14 hours. So, but obviously with this pillow sham, it was recreated. So that's a big things that make you want to go, right?
Well, no, Joe.
Not looking good, Sandra. Not looking good at all, chick.
And I have to say this. An invader comes into their house.
Yes.
This house looks good.
Yes.
Maybe they got some knives because I brought nothing. So he grabs a butcher knife from the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, crap, I don't have anything to put anything in. I got to go find a backpack. And I go around looking
He's
for a
running around
backpack.
looking for a backpack.
And then he found a telephone cord. Where is a telephone cord?
Especially these days.
Because I don't have one at my house. I mean, do you have one?
No.
Okay, so is it laying on the floor in the closet? I mean, if an invader comes in, aren't they usually in a hurry? Like, we got to grab this and go. They're
Aren't
like
they usually
rummaging
carrying
through
a gun?
they're carrying a weapon. They're carrying, I mean,
yeah, most of the time they're going to carry a gun. They don't want to get that close to anybody. They don't want to have to stab them. They're going to go in with a gun. They're going to go in with,
they
they're
would
gonna
have
be a little
had
more
to have
prepared.
spent a long time in this house.
Yes. And they want to get
they
in
found
and
a
out.
middle school backpack and a telephone.
Well, let's be honest. Thieves are lazy, so they want to get something quick and easy in and out, and they're not going to put any work and effort into anything. If it's hard, they're just not going to go there. So, yeah. And it would have taken quite a bit of time.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So
unless everything was just laying there for them to find.
Well, maybe they knew where everything was. If it's somebody that they knew that did this, then maybe.
But you're my sister, and I don't know where you would keep a telephone cord.
Well, that's the same. That's the same if I go to your house. I mean, I may know where your glasses and forks are, and I know where your bathroom is, but I'm not going to know where you keep sheets and pillow shams or
it's going to take time to look for
a backpack. Right? Yeah, you're going to be running around the house looking for those things. So yeah, that's and a knife. Think about that. Unless it's just conveniently laying on the counter, and from what you're telling me, they had a lot of crap laying around everywhere. So maybe they just had knives laying around, randomly. But that's very interesting to me. It sounds like a planned deal to me.
Well, the prosecution also pointed out that if Sandra could hear the dogs outside barking, then she should have been able to hear her husband being attacked by a home invader. Yet Sandra told investigators that she heard nothing from the jacuzzi while Jamie was tending to their dogs.
Yeah, I find that interesting. Now, I will say that a jacuzzi jet system, when it's going full blast, it can be extremely loud. So if you're down in it, maybe you'll hear something. You might not quite know what it is. But I assure you, if someone's right next to you or right outside the door yelling and screaming and being attacked, you're going to hear it regardless of the jets.
Okay, well, there's the bedroom, his closet, the bathroom. It's all attached.
Yes. Yeah.
So unless she had the door closed and a lot of stuff going on, there's no reason she couldn't
had headphones on.
Okay, so yeah, I live in a similar subdivision, and I can be watching TV on my couch in my living room, and I can hear our neighbor's dog barking from inside their house.
Yes.
We're all inside, and I can hear it. It's great. I'm pretty sure if you can hear 4 small dogs barking outside,
Mhm.
you can hear your husband in the bedroom
being attacked. Absolutely.
I mean, you
Well,
might even
he
be
was
able
yelling.
to hear him. Yes, and you might even be able to hear him moving around if you can hear the
Yes.
dogs barking outside.
Yeah, it was a brutal attack. So that he was yelling, probably begging for his life. So yeah, I'm sure that didn't go down quietly at all.
No. Well, the prosecution had Sandra's medical records showing that Sandra had visited her neurologist in 2013 after a more than 10-year hiatus. And just a few months after Jamie's murder, the neurologist testified that Jamie had complained of neurological issues, including a recent seizure, which could result in memory loss. But according to the neurologist's own records, Sandra had not experienced a seizure for a year, which contradicts what Sandra told investigators. Now, in Sandra's defense, she didn't exactly say I had a seizure. She said, when I come out of a seizure, I sleep for a long period of time. This is what I feel like when I come out of a seizure. I read nothing and saw nothing of her saying, I did have a seizure.
So she's just assuming that that's what could have happened to her within the 14 hours, possibly because of the feces and vomit that she was laying in the closet, and maybe her grogginess or something.
Yes.
Okay.
Which her daughter does say that she believes when she got hit in the head, she had a seizure.
Mm-hmm.
And that might have scared them enough to push her in their locker, close her in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
But the medical records show that she did not have a seizure.
Okay. Oh, so they probably did
But
some sort of brain scan or something on her.
Yes, and maybe they...
But later, because she didn't go get checked out.
Well, yeah, correct.
Yeah.
I mean, she declined going to the hospital to get checked out, which, guys, if anything happens to you, go to the hospital, get checked out, because
Always.
You're going to need that.
Yes. Just to make sure, especially to document, any trauma to your hands, your arms, your body, period.
Or to show, hey,
Yes.
something did happen to me.
Something did happen, or look, nothing is here, and I have physicians to prove otherwise. So yeah, it would, especially when it comes to a crime scene or a death. Absolutely. I would be going.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
The prosecution's idea as to a motive was divorce, claiming the Melgar's religion as Jehovah's Witnesses did not allow for divorce. So murder's the answer? I mean, I'm assuming that Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in murder either if they don't believe in divorce.
Well, they don't believe in celebrating anniversaries, Christmases, birthdays, and they typically don't believe in going to doctors. So I don't know what kind of Jehovah Witnesses they were or how devout they were. Maybe they decided that, that was just their point of reference when it came to worshiping, and they would still celebrate certain things like anniversaries, but typically they don't celebrate any of that. Anything earthly bound, they don't celebrate.
I also checked Jamie's life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
It was $250,000.
Yeah, that's nothing. Hardly worth killing your spouse over. Yeah. I mean, if it was maybe $1 million or $2 million, I could see maybe that if she was going to do it, it would be worth her while. But man, I would be buying a home in another country that wouldn't extradite me, and I would not ever come back if that would be the reason why you're doing it.
Plus, this is a man that took care of her, and, with all of her many medical issues, and loved her. And from what I have read, he was a very wonderful person. They had a great marriage. Yeah. Which I hear that a lot. But it was almost like it came out of nowhere. So
there had not been any documentation or anybody that had said there had been any affairs or any type of fighting or anything like that.
No.
And no financial struggles
not that we know of,
to the point of, foreclosure on a home or anything like that.
No.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
So the jury rejected Sandra's defense theories. At age 57, Sandra was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 27 years in prison. Sandra is now serving her time in the Carroll Young Complex in Dickinson, Texas.
Wow.
10 years after the murder of Jaime Melgar, new DNA evidence has been brought forward. The defense is arguing that the bloody handle of the safe in Jaime's closet was never tested. There is also known DNA in the house that did not belong to Sandra or Jaime Melgar.
Interesting.
So Jaime and Sandra's daughter, Liz, and their family, they are fighting to have Sandra released as innocent.
Well, it's a good thing to know that it sounds like his family as well is fighting to get her out of jail.
Yeah, it sounds like no one believes
that she did
it.
Yeah.
Now, I do have to say, going in this, I thought 100% there's no way Sandra could have done this. But, you watch a lot of podcasts, you form your own opinion from that. And then when I went into this a little further, I kept thinking, I don't know. I mean, there's some back and forth now. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, because we don't know an affirmative reason why she would do it. But then there's some certain things like the pillow sham, not hearing
the backpack,
the knife, the jewelry, not hearing the attack. And then the doors being open or unlocked, and that way she could possibly be rescued. There's a lot of things and the person following them home, and then the dog's barking. So it's one of two ways, folks. Either she had premeditated this and set it up to kill him, why? Because $250,000 is nothing. And if they're not having financial troubles or affairs, what other reason would there be? Or there was something nefarious or an intruder or someone followed him home. But then why wasn't anything truly stolen? Like, come on, they're going to stab him for a TV and an Xbox and a backpack and some probably cheap costume jewelry. I mean,
and I am going to say this. I mean, they could have run. He's not going to run after them. He's naked.
True.
I'm sure they could have gotten away.
Yeah. But
they went really far as to killing him and locking her in a closet.
Right. And then I'm assuming that there were no video cameras at this time. Not probably then, not like there is now.
Not like there is now, yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I'm stumped. It could literally be either way. Because there are, in the Houston area, and I'm sure all around the United States, there's home invasions every day. Typically, home invasions are done with a handgun, not with a knife. But anything's possible. Anything. If someone is high on drugs or anything like that. But
this wasn't their knife. It was the kitchen knife.
Yeah, it was the kid. Well,
they didn't even come into the house
with nothing. But yeah, and that's true.
Usually they would bring their own weapon.
They would bring their own weapon. But I'm just saying maybe they were high and they weren't thinking it through. But again, if you're going to do that, wouldn't you be a little more prepared? And there was no point of entry for a break-in. So a TV and an Xbox and some costume jewelry or whatever and a backpack. I mean, all for a man's life, maybe two. They didn't, if this intruder came in and they locked her in the closet while she's having a seizure, for all they knew, she was going to die too.
Yes. So
it seems like an awful big price to pay
for a little bit of nothing.
For a TV, and if they're on foot, are they running with the TV, or did they have someone? Was it two people in a car that followed them in, gave them some time to get settled, and then broke in on them? But how did they get in? Maybe they just got lucky and tried if the garage door was left open and then the back and that side door was unlocked. Maybe that's why the dogs were barking, because they could sense someone on the property. So it's very interesting. I didn't know about the pillow sham. I've heard about this story throughout the years. And I've often pondered that, if anything ever happened to my husband, my God, me and my sister both have said, would we be sitting in jail? But
I've already told my husband, babe, if you end up dead, I'm going to prison.
It's so scary to think that, because just at face value, when we've heard of this story, automatically I thought she was innocent.
Well, she has so many medical issues.
Yeah, and listen, lupus alone would be, lupus, if it affects your joints, imagine stabbing someone that
50
many times.
Yes.
Especially in the skull, and your joints hurt, and you have tissue aches and all of that. So that would be really hard to do, and then to be able to overcome it. But now I don't know if, because lupus does damage your tissues, if the bruising on her arms could have been caused by the stabbing.
Maybe.
But
how does she have enough strength to take on a man, because a healthy man?
I mean, think 50 stabs, that's going to wear you the heck out. That is physical, hard labor. That's a lot. And now if you're angry at someone, I guess the adrenaline pumping, maybe it wouldn't be, it would be a little bit different. But I just can't imagine someone, with her health issues that would be able to pull that off. But then there's the pillow sham. I go back to the pillow sham. This reminds me of JonBenet Ramsey. We always go back to the letter.
Okay. Although
I just can't.
She could know who did it.
That's true. And she could have left the doors unlocked, and could very well be. But did the cops check her financials? Did they check to see if any cash had been, pulled out, certain payments, digital payments, trading of any kind? I don't know. I mean, you would think texting. I know back then, it's not that long ago, there was texting and emails and things like that. So it's almost like she's, okay, let me put it to you this way, folks. She's sitting in jail based on circumstantial evidence, not anything like DNA. And I know that you can be prosecuted with circumstantial evidence, but it's so rare. Nowadays, with forensics, as far as it's come, they want some DNA, they want some identity, they want camera footage, they want all of that. And there's just not, if she had stabbed him 50 times, she's going to have cuts on her
There
hands.
was not enough evidence one way or another.
No, to put her in prison for that long. Even if she is guilty, they don't have enough evidence to put her in there. No, you can't. Innocent until proven guilty. So I think she got a raw deal. Even if she's guilty for doing it, the jury that put her in jail, they only put her there for circumstantial evidence, nothing based on proof. And the burden of proof lied on the prosecutor. So I'm kind of confused as to, man, they must have had a really good prosecutor up there. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, he must have been rocking it out, buddy, because if you can pull one off like that with circumstantial evidence, you're pretty damn awesome.
I did watch one video of a juror that said he was 100% sure she did not do it until they came out with the medical records.
Okay.
Proving that she had not had a seizure.
Right.
And that got a lot of them, it flipped them.
But the seizure's not what gets me. What gets me is where's the cuts on her hands? Where's the slippage?
And that's what I feel like. I feel like
hands?
There's more to it than just her medical records.
Yes.
Well, a lot more to it.
Yeah, but it sounds
I have so many questions. I can't.
Sounds like the jury was looking for that one thing to hang her, and that was what they hung their hat on.
Yeah.
And guess what, guys? Y'all live in Harris County too, so you better hope your spouse don't come up dead. That's all I'm going to say, because that's pretty scary. That is pretty scary. It's almost like taking away free speech.
Us all.
Yeah, be vigilant. Lock your damn doors.
That should just be a given, guys.
Especially in Houston, Texas, for sure.
Anywhere. Don't you watch those shows? They're like, In this town, we've never had to lock our doors. Why?
Until one day.
There's always that one person that's going to come in and do something.
That's
just lock your doors.
Lock your doors just to be on the safe side. Be vigilant.
I've locked my husband outside a few times. So have my children.
Oh, I do that to Bruce too.
And he gets so mad. I'm like, well, you want the doors locked, so what do you want? What do you expect?
We're trying to keep the freaks out, dude.
What are you saying about your husband?
Well, no, I'm not saying by him, but I'm just saying I'm trying to keep the freaks out.
All right, guys. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Please, please, please comment. I want to know everything you have to say and everything you think about this because, like I said, I went in it thinking that Sandra was 100% innocent, and now I'm 50-50. I'm not sure. And I want to hear what everyone else has to say. A lot of people are for Sandra, and there's that few that aren't. So I just want to see what you guys think.
Yeah.
Please leave your comments. We love reading comments. It makes our whole day when you leave a comment.
We get excited. But yeah, I think she got a raw deal. And even if she's guilty, I still think that you cannot put someone in prison for circumstantial evidence. It should not ever happen here in the United States of America. And that's why sometimes our judicial system, we call it broken, because I've seen cases where they have DNA proof and that person walks free. And then you have someone like Sandra, who there's only circumstantial evidence, and she's in prison basically for the rest of her life. So I hope that her family can find justice for her at this point, and whatever that justice may be, I hope that it's found amongst her family and even for Sandra. And may Jaime rest in peace. We do pray for this family. Maybe someday they'll be able to take care of whatever the circumstances are, either set her free or confirm whether she's guilty or innocent for sure. But yeah.
We will link the information below regarding her family trying to get her released. We'll link everything below so you can check that out.
Yeah. So until then, guys, until next time, actually, until our next episode, see the good and stay imperfectly perfect.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.